Ek dink hoop vir Afrika is om mense te bemagtig deur geletterdheid. Dit bring vir hulle 'n groter wêreld wat hulle wêreld oopmaak. Dit gee hulle baie meer geleenthede om selfstandig te wees. Ek dink hoop vir Afrika is ook deel om God se koninkryk uit te brei deur die geletterdheid, want omdat dit gebaseer is op die Bybel, help dit die vrouens ongelooflik baie. Hulle raak ryker geestelik, maar tog in dieselfde geleentheid wat hulle leer lees en skryf. Kry die geleentheid om dan ook winkel toe te gaan of iets simpels te doen, soos 'n bus kom verby en jy kan sien waar gaan die bus heen. Jy hoef nie rond te hardloop om iemand te vra om jou te help nie. Ek dink so geletterdheid vir my dan met die woord wat ons die Bybel gebruik, bring hoop vir Afrika.
As dan nie nou praat van hoop, die vrouens hierso. Wat is die hoop van hulle vashou? As mens nou praat van evangelie. In die werk wat hulle doen en in die moeilikheid wat hulle het en in die geboorte gee en in die bos en al daai mediese staf en
ons in die stad kan 'n salaris verdien. Hierdie mense het net die Here. En hulle hou net aan die Here vas. En ek dink hulle het baie meer hoop as wat ons het. Omdat hulle glo dat God sal voorsien. En ons sal altyd so vir agterdeur loop om te dink. Nee, ek kan in my eie geld, ek kan gou leen of ek kan 'n plan maak om my eie geld te kry. Waar hulle weet die Here sal vir hulle doen.
In the first world, people see hope as something that you hope for that will realize in the future. So I hope I will get my degree, or I hope I will meet the right person, or I hope that I'll get the job of my dreams. And I think hope here is a little bit different. What is that difference, and why do you think that it's closer to hope, the hope that Christ gives us, or not?
Maybe I'm going to answer that quickly. It's very interesting and a very good question. I think the hope we hold on to as a Western society, or a Western culture, or a developed culture, or a first world culture, and the hope I see in Africa in a developing context, I think he is hugely different. And I've got to come to a few points to answer that. Here in Africa, mostly in a developing context, is it's a survival game. It truly is a survival game. Your average African, I mean, half of the world lives on less than $2 a day, so there's not much to hope for when it comes to the job of my dreams, or any material things of my dream that I would love. So I think hope in Africa is absolutely answered in a way that someone answered me when I asked him, so what do you see? What do you hope for? And he answered me without even thinking. He said, hope for me is heaven. So of course, the other question was, so what is heaven like? And the answer was, and that said everything. The answer was pretty much, heaven for me will be a place where I hope there would be enough food for me and my family. Heaven would be a place for me where I hope that I don't have to hear my child cry himself to sleep at night because there's not enough food. So hope for me would be a heaven where that would be available for me. That would bring hope to me. So it's never, I mean, why do people continue in Africa? And I thought about that, you know. Hope for us in the Western world, if we talk about heaven, heaven would be a place like a beach in Hawaii, a clubhouse, or a country clubhouse somewhere where you have a great life and you're thinking. In Africa, it's not that. Hope is truly a place where people feel their needs are met.
There's two difficult questions that I want to ask. You and Danny Otto, I think you guys want to be hope. So what is that hope that you want to be? Like as an active verb that you want to pursue, or something that chases you, keeps you awake at night?
It's such a good question, because hope and love is doing. and doing it right now, and not waiting until you get your degree or your great master's degree in theology, or wait somewhere for something to happen, because it's not going to happen very quickly. I mean, people postpone, people philosophize, people spend times. I think there's 5 giants in Africa, and I'm going to say this straightforward. We know that there's a spiritual emptiness in Africa. People don't have purpose. Hope is directly connected with that. Now, the second thing is we've got egocentric leadership in Africa. We've got little Saddam Husseins running around doing their thing, and where we have to come in with relationship and say, listen, let's help you to lead. That's hope. The third thing I think is, as my wife said, is literacy. Illiterate people. That is one of the biggest things where you can actually immediately start anywhere, everywhere, to bring hope to communities and to people and individuals. Of course, there's poverty. We don't have the answer for poverty, basically. And to do that and just to meet people where they are at the moment. Listen, we don't have the solution for poverty. Nobody has. Not the World Bank, not the UN, not UNICEF, nobody. They're trying, but we won't have an answer to poverty. And some people would probably give me a very hard time when I say that right now. That is very difficult. The education systems and of course health is huge. I mean, we could prevent so many deaths by just speaking into people's lives, preventative health, just a lot of great things we can do to bring hope. So I believe hope is a verb, and I'm so glad you used the word. How do you do it as a verb? Is meeting those 5 giants in Africa head on. One of the words, one of the sentences I truly dislike, and I hear a lot of people say that in the Western world, when we see children die, HIV children die. I just had a great German theology student tell me yesterday in one of their newspapers, Africa in chaos. And that is true, but the thing is, what I truly dislike is when people say, you know what, it's Africa, that's just the way it is. And it's not the way it is. And that's why I believe hope is a verb. Love is a verb. Love and hope is action right now. And I get very passionate about that, because I do believe that every single person, wherever they are, whoever they are, can make a difference. And it's the word hope is a small word. It's a huge action word too. And there's so many ways. Tackle these 5 giants of Africa, and I tell you what, you change communities, countries, nations, and lives. And that's what I feel.
So what do you think is it's just like Africa now, and the realities. So there's just around the corner, there's a war going on in Gorongosa, there's in the Central African Republic, Egypt, and Somalia, DRC,
Kenya,
Kenya, and Nigeria, Boko Haram. What is the church's calling to bring hope in those conflict areas?
Again, such a good question. I think when we hear those stories, we fall half in despair. The church included in that equation. It's as if people got used to what's happening around them. Of course, I have a philosophy. Do to one that you wish you could do for everyone. Which simply means that, I mean, we can't, where we are, and certain churches feel that, how do we play a significant role in changing all of that? Boko Haram, what do we do? This is going to sound very simplistic, I think, but I think the first thing we can do is within our own communities. Let's start there. There's enough places of conflict in our own communities. I'm talking about gangsters, I'm talking about social problems, welfare problems, we've got orphan issues, we've got a lot of issues. For the church, I would come up with the old plan that's actually very old, and it's not something new. Let's start where we are. Do to one that you wish you could do for everyone. Let's take Muslim girls wherever they are and the way they live, and how can we change their life, or their, in some or other way. But then also go further. I think the church specifically, they're so-called, I wish they would change for a start, would change their mission statements when it comes to missions, and just their church statements. When I read and I look at mission departments in churches and what they want to do and what they want to achieve, I look at those and I'm thinking, wow, that's so old. That's like 150 years old. We could actually get involved, and it's great bringing Christ to people. That's what we do. We want to bring hope through good deeds. We bring good words and words of life. I think churches should get involved in national matters. I mean, international matters. I think there's enough people in churches. I mean, the days of just sending money and hope that things will work out is long over. We've got to personally get involved. And I do believe in every church, in every community, there are these people who truly want to do a little bit more. So after your community, I think it's pretty much reaching out to people. There's no reason why we can't help with literacy programs, for example. Why we can't get involved in health issues in countries after building a relationship. It's a difficult question, I have to admit, because sometimes I think the church doesn't understand its own community even. So to ask that question means, how do we understand our role as Christians of hope givers to the world? Because that's what we are. If we don't give hope and we don't bring love, people are going to die and people will continue living in poverty. So it's a difficult question. I'm not sure I'm answering it at the moment. I just think churches should really start sitting down and coming up with plans and mission statements that actually work. Because I tell you what, most of them, and I look at some of those, they do not work at all. People still believe we should walk with the Bible under the arm and quickly just force feed people, and that's it. And it's not that. If it's not holistic, and that's what I want to challenge churches, have a holistic approach when it comes to bringing hope to people. Holistic, my goodness gracious, that's tackling the 5 giants I've just mentioned.
This is just a personal view on the current state of the church, but I think for me, hope is at this stage a spin-off of theological debate or dogma that arises within the context. So when hope arises, it's not something that's actively pursued. It's just a spin-off of theological talk. And how I don't know if you agree with that, but
I actually do.
I do. Okay, so how do you change your mindset from I think that's also what Jesus did when he walked on earth. Where he went was he pursued the giving of hope and the being of hope for people in financial, spiritual, and emotional or contextual community problems, and also healed them. But I think at this stage it's not that. So how can one change the mindset so that hope can be the active pursuit of a church rather than the complicated dogma and theology that we preach to just say the correct words?
Yeah, if there's a theologian listening now, they would probably start writing a book right now on the topic, and we would never get to hope. I love the practical part of what you're saying. Let me tell you a story quickly. I went into a village, and so I saw a church without a roof. The church was beaten down a little bit. It didn't look very nice, and I thought to myself when I entered the church, wow, we should really put a roof on this place, you know. And where's the pastor? And where's the, just showing a little bit of respect for the house of God. That was my Western mindset working. It was when the church members came and I asked them, I said, so, where's the pastor of this church? And they showed me the pastor. I said, hey, tell me, why is there no roof on your church? And he looked at me quietly. He didn't say much. And then after a few seconds, he nodded his head and he said, do you know where the money is for our roof? And I thought, yeah, typical Africa, it's probably in someone's pocket. And they ran away with the money. I had to learn that what he was going to respond made me think of how bigger their God is than my God. And how I see hope and theology. And those two coming together and make it practical. And not complicated, because it's not. You know what they did? The church came and actually, the pastor said to me, you know what? 10 of our members of our churches, we don't have a lot of money. We're in Africa and there's not a lot. We don't have jobs. There's not a lot of money available. But what we did is we started a small fund to help 3 families in our church to help their grandmothers to build a nicer house for the HIV orphans we had. Because some of our mums and dads died, the grandmothers and fathers, the same in South Africa, were left with these children. And so we decided not to put on a church roof for the next 2 years and help the grandmothers and grandfathers in our church to take care of these orphans. And I thought immediately, wow, we've got hope in action. that to me showed something of who God is and what God was busy with, and how in a church hope arose and said, listen, our church building is not important at this very moment. Very different than where we come from in our Western culture. I mean, we build cathedrals with thick carpets, and that's not all wrong. I just think to practically get involved in hope is to start building a relationship with a community that needs hope. We need communities of hope. What we've done is practically, we saw something in our community happening with orphans. We've placed them in a home with a widow, and then and that was all nice and good and making it culturally relevant in their context. We didn't build huge, beautiful houses for orphans or orphan housing. We just placed them with a widow. But then something happened. For people around in Africa, something amazing happened. People saw this as a wow, what do I call it? As a moment or an opportunity of hope arising. Blind people started coming. We've had people with leprosy coming to this orphan house, or a widow with her orphans. We gave her 3 orphans. And they said, wow, could we stay here? We said, why? They said, well, you know, orphans are pretty much moved out and pushed out of our community. And actually, we feel like we've been pushed out a little bit. So is this a place of hope? That's what they asked. That was their question. Is this a place of hope? I didn't plan it that way, but I realized that even in Mozambique, people needed hope. And so we said, sure, you can stay. And so we started building small huts for them and provided a little bit of food and a little bit of help. And a great relationship started. And we planted these communities of hope in places. And it is amazing. Suddenly, the local people of communities came and said, we just love this. We want to adopt this again as part of what we believe in. And I said, but you just kicked your people out. They said, no, but this brings hope. We love this. And so I don't think it's that difficult. I think the practicalities are quite challenging, but they are very, very much possible for you, for me, the church, wherever we are. I think it's very, very possible.
So that, just to frame that a bit, you guys started a community of hope where a widow would be given a couple of orphans, and she would take care of them. And the practicality behind that is the kids would help with the house, the chores around the house, and the mom would make sure that the kids go to school. And you guys then help with with some food parcels or planting, and then giving free education to the kids. But you also have a role in that, not making hope cheap, and not giving away anything for free. So how do you keep hope expensive in that?
Wow, that is again such a big question. Keeping hope alive and don't make it cheap. One of the things are, I mean, relationships will cost you money. Relationships will cost you time and a lot of effort in there. How do you not make it cheap? I think by honoring every single individual that is hopeless. We have to start there, and that's a relationship. You dare not get involved or bring hope if you think it's a quick scheme or quick project. You dump your money and you run away. It's not that. But here's the thing on how to make hope expensive. One of the things we've done is we've given away control. Once we saw the light and the flickering of hope burning, and we got the small community of hope going, basically, we said to them, listen, we want to put you back into community life as we know it. If it's city life or wherever you are, we want to. And then we gave away control over what we've done. We've given them self-worth. We've given them small jobs, small things to bring back self-worth to those who were totally hopeless. I'm talking about HIV positive people. I'm talking about the blind. I'm talking about people with leprosy. They have no hands, no feet. But somehow we gave them hope, a reason to live. Small jobs, small things, very small things. And to honor them as individuals. And then we pulled out a little bit. And we coached them a little bit, and then just started mentoring them and said, listen, now you, and this is how it gets very expensive, hope. We told them, now you go in your situation, it doesn't matter how poor you are or what, what the problem is. Now you go in and you be hope to someone else. That's difficult. So the most powerful thing is when a local African goes, who feels that there's not a lot of money or materialistic things that makes him, a person of value, but he has hope. And so he goes out, and the moment he encourages others, so many of them, we've had an old lady, no purpose in life. We gave her a few orphans and gave her a little bit of hope. And she started selling hope to people. And people said, but how is that possible? And she said to me, I will never forget, a year or so ago, she said to me, I am so rich. And I realized how hope changed her whole life. And this is not just a story. It's not just, it's practical, it's possible, and I see it. That's why we don't give away stuff, money, things for free. We just don't do it at all. It takes away the self-worth of people. And so we do it the difficult way, and with a lot of time involved and a lot of relationship involved, and it works. And somehow I've seen that hope becomes a great, wonderful, expensive commodity that everybody wants and want to be part of, basically.
So, one of these, can you just maybe tell the story of Shiro and how he became part of this? I mean, to explain the practicalities of, and how did he become hope to other people?
Wow, Sweru's story is an amazing story. We found Sweru, he had leprosy. No hands, no feet, really down and out. And what has happened, the leprosy got so far that he couldn't help himself anymore. So what happened actually was that he was left in the bush. Nobody cared for him. He had no wife, no children, he had nothing. And when we got to him, someone told us that there's someone just lying and he's smelling. And so we thought people are, he's probably dying. Somehow a giver of hope passed him every day, a Christian lady, and she just left water and some bread. The rest of the community didn't care. They have their own problems and caught up in their own poverty and their own problems. So this lady just sent a message, please call someone that could please help Sweru. We got there. He was really smelling. He had no hands, no feet left. It was wounds. The sores were tremendous, and it didn't smell well. We found him just lying on a carpet in the bush, crawling to his little small hut. Someone helped him with, but that was it. So we found him, and he was really not looking good, starving basically, dying basically. We got him, we brought him in, and we said to him, listen, we're going to put you in a community close to us. We realized quickly that nobody wanted you. They didn't want to take responsibility for it. Because in some of our communities, there's no hope left. That's why we came and said, there is hope left. And so we want to show you how that works practically. So we placed him in a small house. We started feeding him, and then he got better. We gave him some great medical treatment that was available, and took him on a program for injections and just looking after his mental health, but also his spiritual health, and of course physical health. And so when we got him to a place, we gave him shoes and we gave him a few things and he started walking. And the first thing we did is we said to him, listen, we want you to work for us. He said, but it's impossible. I don't have hands and I don't have feet. So how do I do that? I said, it's easy. And so we gave him a small, not even 10 meters of land. 10 meters, because he was very close to, where we stayed. And we said, we want you to just patrol this area for us. You can sit on a chair and just make sure that this area is safe, and that if people pass us, you just stop them and ask them what they are doing here. It wasn't important at all. But we realized very soon that it gave him purpose. And a man with purpose, that's why I say spiritual emptiness kills people in Africa, everywhere. But the moment he found purpose, he found hope. Because suddenly there was a reason to live for tomorrow. I've got a small job. It wasn't important, but he found it. And the next thing after he found purpose, he said to me, listen, would it be possible if I got married? Would you bless that? I said, well, we'll speak to the lady and see if that's possible. Well, he met someone that was blind, which was good at that time, I think. And he met her, they got married, and they had a fantastic life. if you see Sweru now, he walks all around the place. He feels in charge. He's got self-worth back. A tremendous transformation just because of that 4 letters, the word hope, that came into his life and how he shared that to others. And when you see him now, you would not even say he's got leprosy. I mean, he still has got no hands, but we covered it in a nice way, in a sensitive way. He's got shoes, and so he walks and encourages other people, and he's part of our community of hope.
How does a gospel of justice bring hope? Maybe you should quickly define gospel of justice and define hope, and then what hope as a verb, and how does it?
Hope as a word is action. It's an action word where you go, where you see hopeless people. I mean, I believe. I don't want you to listen if you want this in Afrikaans or English.
English is fine.
But hope is a verb. I mean, and it is so possible. I mean, if you trust, if you a true follower and disciple of Jesus Christ, who is the ultimate hope giver, wherever he walked, when he saw the sick, when he saw the poor, when he saw the demon possessed, he brought hope with his words. Stand up, sin no more, go. I wish I could say that to people. Just get over your life, stand up, and just go. Just don't publish that. Nou raak ek kwaad. And so, to me, hope is truly an action word. And I think everybody could be part of it. To see the hopeless doesn't take a genius, doesn't take a master's degree in theology. It truly is everywhere around us. I would define hope as seeing those who suffer stand up and do something about it. How small it is not important. The second thing is a gospel of justice is going into a community. It takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more knowledge of your community and of the problem. Pray that God will give you the answer, because our gospel is a gospel of justice. Let me take, for example, the Batwa people in Burundi. If you go there, the Batwa people are very small people. They were used to dig toilets, and that's it. They did not have an ID card. They did not have not even full citizenship in Burundi. Until a friend I knew, that I know in Burundi, Claude Nikundenya, part of the Amahoro group, he came and he said, "This is nonsense. I mean, this is a lot of injustice that's happening to a group of people, a culture, the Batwa, and they have no way of being a full citizen in Burundi." So he went on local level, he went on government level, and they made sure that every single Batwa people in Burundi got an ID card. They serve in parliament at the moment. That's justice. That's a gospel of justice. It's when girls in Africa get married at the age of 12 because they're sold by their parents. That is injustice. So what we've done and helped here in this country, in Mozambique specifically, is making sure that there's a law written that every single girl has the right to sit in school until the age of 16. And if someone would sell them or got them pregnant before 16, due to the parents intervening and selling off their daughters, there would be, we could go to community police, take them to jail and to court, and make sure we follow up on the justice, this project we started. I think that's justice, and I think, wow, hope and justice go together so well. The moment the Batwa got their ID cards, things changed. They said, well, I'm a citizen. That brought hope to people. They serve in parliament. They feel they're part of community. They're part of life. We all need community. We are not created to be a lone ranger. None of us. And so justice brings hope. Our girls suddenly that we have in our schools here are studying medicine at the moment. They are starting to becoming nurses. They're starting to become teachers. Why? Because when we tell the girls, listen, we'll take care of you. There's a law that we helped create to take care of you, that you don't have to have babies at the age of 14 and start your adult life at 14 years of age. There's hope outside that there will be a great job for you, and through your job you could change the nation. And so justice and hope, very practical things. And may God help all of us to be aware of where God wants to use us to bring a gospel of justice to people. It's so important.
Thank you.
Ek was hopeloos te ernstig nou.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ek is reg daar vir brood.
Thanks, guys.
Ja, mos jy moeilike vrae gevra. Liewe hemel.
Jy het net gekom.